All right, we are back for game three. Games are currently tied 1v1. Evan on the left side is one game, actually, yeah, one game one, and Guillaume rallied back and won game two. Evan is still joining me for commentary here for the third game. Evan, do you have some quick thoughts about how that last game unfolded?
Yeah, I mean, it just really that he got my tomes. He killed both my tomes. Well, the first one he killed, and then the second one he stole my Jalem tome, the paperback. Sorry, he killed the paperback, and then he stole my Jam Day tome the next turn. And without those two cards, I can be kind of dead in the water mid game because I play a lot of lands because I have a complex mana base, and I have kind of a high curve on creatures. So that was, to me, that was the decisive moment, was turn 5 or something.
Yeah, maybe a little further along, but I totally get what you're saying. Yeah,
Turn 10, yeah,
and if
whenever it was, yeah.
exactly, I mean, Guillaume is making a calculated risk in that he is running quite a few less land than you are. He's only running 22 plus a Felwar Stone. That's obviously a huge liability in the event that you're able to draw early land destruction. And but
Yeah,
once you get to mid game, that actually turns into a huge asset because he's just going to be drawing an average of one extra spell every 3 or 4 cards over you because of the differential in land. I assume
yeah,
you're going.
I'm not far from half land in my deck. I mean, I'm not quite there, but not
Yeah,
far
quite
from it.
close. All right, so we've both players have now drawn their opening 7. Looks like you're keeping Evan, and I assume you're going first.
Yeah,
And we'll see what Guillaume does here, whether or not there have been no mulligans so far, and it looks like that pattern is going to continue on into game 3. You're
yeah,
leading with the swamp here, and not an
I drew
underground
my
sea.
lands really well these matches, so
Yeah, that's always super super handy. It's so nice to just look at your opening hand and seeing two of your primary color and your splashes leading with a Tundra turn 1 and Ivory
ooh.
Tower. Whew, I'm gonna let you breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah,
That's not land tax.
yes, that's turn 1 land tax is just almost game over for me. Um, I don't really care about Ivory Tower that much because I'm just gonna try and mind twist or him his stuff away and keep him off his book.
Yeah, you're both basically playing decks that are based around the concept of inevitability, which is a very easy way to implement your strategy in old school, given how few ways there are to get back into a game that you're losing badly. And so, yeah, you can pretty much all but ignore the life gain for the time being. It can become problematic very, very late in the game, but for the time
Yes.
being, and look at that, red, green, black on turn 3. Can't really ask for
Yeah.
better. And you've got
That's
Jalem
beautiful.
Tome instead of Zira. Where's Zira?
She is just cursed.
He
She is
just
cursed.
does not want to show up. We'll see what his response is here. Is that his own Jalen Tome or just some small little utility guy? Obviously, he's got a couple of choices here, and he's contemplating what to play. Down comes Prodigal Sorcerer. Not the best answer to Jalen Tome, and I'm sure you breathe a sigh of relief as soon as you get to untap with Jalen Tome and play. Saw him to
Yeah,
Torak in your hand.
I think my hand was pretty good at this point, so I don't recall being eager to use it, even though I want to, of course. But
Yeah.
it's a it's hard to use on turn 4.
Yeah, I find that generally the way that I view it is that basically, unless your hand is literally the 4 or 5, in this case 5, I guess, best cards in your entire deck in your hand, it's almost always better to use it because
Yep.
of. So there's yeah, I saw that. So you flashed the him to Torak and you just asked him how many cards he's got. So I think he's got what do you say? 5? Yeah, 5 in hand.
Yeah. So this deactivates the tower, and
Yeah,
that's that.
exactly. You just don't even care, and it's so unlikely to ever matter. He got 4 life off of it, which is decent, and he loses Witch Hunter and Plains. I'm sure you're very happy to see the Plains go away, and you've
Yep.
got available mana to use Jalen Tome. So we'll see. I guess you maybe probably don't quite recall what you have in hand, but we'll
Yeah,
just see
I
whether or not you
assume I
want to use
used
it.
it. I mean, I
Probably.
think I'm a good enough player,
Yeah,
but
I guess
maybe
we'll
not.
find out. I mean, there are times when you don't want to use it. If your hand is all stacked, then you don't want to risk drawing into another good spell. As we are playing a
Yeah.
singleton format, it is a little bit. You can get into these uncomfortable situations.
It's
Um,
like discarding your one win con for like a cadaverous bloom deck or something. So
exactly. No, it can
it
really
could
feel that
be,
way sometimes.
yeah.
All right, he's got 2 mana here, and he's making copy artifact. Of course, that's going to be a Jalen Tome.
So I'm pretty bummed about this.
Yeah,
I don't
and
want
you
him
did
increasing his
not,
card
and you did
quality. Although
not,
it,
you did not draw at the end of the turn.
yeah. So I guess I had good enough cards.
Yeah, we'll see what you got here. I see. So down comes
In
Icy
the old
Manipulator.
in the old days, I could have tapped his tower and he wouldn't gain life.
That's right. The weird continuous artifact thing.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss being able to deactivate Black Vice. That thing was annoying.
Yeah. So
It still is.
he's gonna ping you with the Prodigal Sorcerer at the end of the turn.
Yep, 19 more turns. That's the end of that.
Draws with the Jail Tome. You notice he put a little die on top of his deck. I expect that that's probably a reminder for him to make sure to shoot with Prodigal Sorcerer before he draws. And to me, that's another indicator that Guillaume is probably not as experienced at playing with these cards as you and I are. So you can often, a lot of players, you'll see this when they're dealing with upkeep effects or end of turn effects, will leave themselves a little die on top of their deck as a reminder, which makes a lot of sense. So he's got to think about what to discard.
I actually do that with Mana Drain. I leave my Mana Drain on top of my deck, so I remember that I get the mana.
Yeah, very, very easy to forget. It's one of the nice things about when you play online, Magic Online or Arena, is that you can't miss any of those automatic triggers. They happen automatically. It always
makes your discipline weak.
It always kind of bothered me, the sort of hand holding that it did, and that it felt like, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
So on his upkeep, I'm tapping his copy artifact. I want him to make the decision now.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I was curious to know what was going on. There was this long pause, and I was really worried for a minute there that he might have actually forgotten to draw his main step card since he drew a card at the end of the turn, but you're tapping the tome. That's a very cool strategy, actually. It forces into an awkward situation of having to draw and discard before he has more info, and he has to use 2 mana during upkeep. And when you're playing,
so I could have tapped one of his lands, but I'd rather try and tap 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So down comes Maze of Ith and Felwar Stone. Wow. And I think in Guillaume's situation here, given how small his hand size is, I think I would have been reluctant to play the Maze of Ith, given that it doesn't have an immediate impact on the game and cards in hand are so valuable. All right, so down comes Triskelion. You can off the Prodigal Sorcerer if you choose to do that. And you, of course, shoot it. He shoots you on the way out.
He could have played that the Maze of Ith because he doesn't want to get mind twisted, maybe. But I only have 1 in my deck.
Yeah, and the him is already gone as well, so there aren't really a lot of opportunities for it. I think just in this situation, like I'm just talking from the perspective of what it's like to play the blue-white control deck, and you kind of just gotta. Everything is a calculus about how valuable is this card right now. You can't really be thinking that much about the future when it comes to. Because he's got a few cards in his deck that are particularly impactful, cards like Balance and Brain Geyser and stuff, and getting to the Jam-Day Tome, getting to a way to get rid of your Jalem Tome, all of those things are things he has to consider. Although, of course, it looks fine now because you've got a 3/3 in play, and he's
right. So you're thinking in terms of the Jalem Tome keeping it in hand, right?
Yeah, exactly. As a card to potentially throw away to Jalem Tome, and I would have actually made the same decision with your Icy Manipulator potentially as well. I don't know what the last 2 cards in your hand are, but situationally,
I think they're good. I forget.
Yeah, situationally, I would have viewed the Icy as being probably a less important card and maybe worth discarding to Jalen Tome. Because you're just going to try to land something like Nether Void to really put him in a bad spot.
Right.
All right, down comes the Time Elemental, which is basically just DOA with the Triskelion out.
Yep, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not quite sure why he played into it.
Yeah, well, I think... Again, I think that he was maybe he was just thinking I need to get that creature small so I can play I need to get the counters off the Triskelion so I can play my other utility creatures. Maybe his Preacher or his Archaeologist or something. And it's really hard for the blue-white deck to deal with a bunch of arms on the Triskelion. So maybe he just views the Time Elemental as not being valuable. We'll see here. You were thinking about.
So here I am thinking forever. Let's see.
What are you considering right now? Do you recall?
I think I was gonna try and Icy something, and like Icy is Maze of Ith an attack potentially, but I think it'd be better to save it for his upkeep and screw with him. Like I think I'm gonna tap the Time Elemental now.
Yeah, that strikes me as a good plan. So you're actually gonna tap the Time Elemental and give him an opportunity to use it.
And I think he bounces my Icy if I recall correctly, but
okay.
I hope he doesn't bounce my Triskelion.
Preacher goes away. See, that's exactly what I was talking about right there. He can't really utilize a lot of his utility guys. So it looks like you're actually just tapping the Tundra. And that sort of de facto shuts him off.
That does force it, yeah.
Yeah, it shuts him off the Time Elemental anyway, so it works out in your favor.
Yeah, if he doesn't drop an island.
Interesting board state here. Yeah, and he's still got his Jalem Tome out. But yeah,
you don't see this in a Swedish match.
Desert.
Yeah,
he's got to really be thinking about playing the desert exactly. I think it's more of how likely is that desert better than the top card of his deck? Probably not too likely.
Yeah.
Particularly because he needs.
He's in kind of a conundrum. He's in a bit of a combined arms dilemma, to use the military phrase, where if he keeps discarding his lands, then eventually I could destroy a bunch of his lands.
That is true. Right? Yeah, I agree with you.
But so it's, but it's that's a future problem, right? That's not a now problem.
Yeah, exactly. I think that probably swapping the desert for the top card, particularly when he really needs 2 islands that he can utilize in the main step. We obviously don't know what card is in his hand right now. It looks like he's actually even considering using Jalen Tome right now. See. Oh, down comes Chaos Orb. Okay, well, his hand is empty now. And that gives him a way to kill off your Jalen Tome, provided that you don't have a Shatter. And you could easily have a Shatter right now, given that you... So he's activating the Orb. He's giving you an opportunity to interact with it. And it looks like you do have the Shatter. Oh, no, you're drawing in response. And you've tapped,
why did I tap my red?
You tapped your red mana, exactly. So if you did, in fact, top deck Shatter there, you did not have the option to do it.
Yeah, that was a bad play.
Yep, and here comes, looks like the Jalen Tome is going to probably go down, I imagine. I think he's still considering the target. Do you think that there's a better target in play potentially besides Jalen Tome?
No. I think, well, I mean, in theory, my mountain, he could take me off mountain, but my Jalen Tome can get me into red again.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be a matter of time.
The Triskelion, who cares, right? I mean...
Yeah, he's already got the Triskelion answered, and besides, you're not going... I mean, the one thing is, I'm actually still... I've heard conflicting things. My opponent, Sebastian, when I played him in the last event, insisted that you could not respond to the Chaos Orb being activated once that you don't declare a target with it. And so, for example, he says, I activate Orb, at which point you go, okay. And if he says, I'm going to flip the Orb and it lands on the Triskelion, you don't have the ability to shoot arms off the Triskelion to kill the Time Elemental.
Right.
And I believe that is how it works. But and then I played later on, when I played against Mikkel, I used my Chaos Orb, and there was a bit of confusion about what I was targeting with it, because you have to. The thing is, you actually have to declare. You have to designate a thing. So he could actually, by you not responding by removing arms in the Triskelion, he could now announce, I believe, destroy the Triskelion with the Chaos Orb and actually protect his Time Elemental.
Yeah, I was hoping I wanted to leave it more juicy. I was hoping he'd kill it over
just to protect the Tome. Yeah, I mean, obviously okay, so he did clip it, and away goes the Jalen Tome. So that actually keeps the Triskelion in play, but the Jalen Tome would almost certainly deliver you to some way to kill off a Time Elemental anyway. But it would have to be instant speed as long as he had blue mana untapped.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm pretty bummed about losing my paperback. Yep. I mean, that just really slows me down.
One of the 2 key cards here. But you do have a handful of stuff. I don't know what you're holding right now.
Yeah,
you allowed him to keep his Time Elemental in play.
I think I have like a Chain Lightning or something. A Chain Lightning elemental here.
Yeah, I see it in your hand.
But I had Bolt too. I really shouldn't have tapped that mountain when I Jalem'd.
Yeah, just having the red mana on tap would have been handy. So Time Elemental's going to die. You don't have to worry about that unless he draws Recall later on. His hand is empty now, and Balance is actually a really credible threat, I think.
Yeah, a little bit of Mind Twist in that Balance.
Exactly. Oh, and Jam Day Tome. There you go.
Yeah, so here I am. So he has no cards out, no cards in hand, and I'm just like, this game's over. Yep. I just won.
You just won the game.
Watch this.
Upkeep. You don't tap anything.
Watch my heartbreak.
Yeah, I was going to see. You got to tap Tundra here so he doesn't top deck Steel Artifact, but you didn't do that.
Ooh.
Imagine if that card is Steel Artifact.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be such a huge error. So shame on me.
You can see him fingering. You never want to see your opponent fingering white mana after you just played Jam Day Tome when they drew 1 card.
Oh my gosh.
So backbreaking. Fellow Stone tap, Plains. Oh, brutal. Away goes Jam Day Tome. You don't even get 1 use out of it.
I said F you.
Well, it's a good thing we have this stream muted. You were already sort of tilting anyway because of the pace of play, I guess. So
I just was like,
yeah, that's just brutal. In the Singleton format, when you know your opponent has, and now you're like, all right, fine, I'm attacking with this Triskelion. Take 3 then.
Yeah. Take that.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure you'd prefer to have him be at 24 and still have your James Tome in play.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Such a tilting moment.
Nothing from the icy here. I guess the reason why you're leaving the icy back is so you can actually start with aggression from the Triskelion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm still sort of saying how stupid that was and what a top deck, but that's part of Magic, right?
It is part of Magic, exactly. He's playing with the cards. And honestly, as good as the Disenchant is, it could have been much worse. It could have been Steel Artifact. It could have also been Balance or Brain Geyser. I mean, there's a lot of other things you could have drawn there too that are equally bad. This is 2 mana as well. Is this Chaos Orb a Divine Offering? It is Divine Offering back to back. So what do you think you should get here? The Triskelion or the Icy?
I think. I mean, the good. Now I can't obviously interact with like an archaeologist, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems kind of a weak play because he's got both my books. Let me look at my deck list. I don't even know what else I have that's an artifact.
You have a disc left. You have a disc left.
I have a disc, yeah. Disc would devastate him. It would completely wreck him.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason. But so I did that trick with the Triskelion because he was going to gain 6 life off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I shot him once, then I killed it.
Exactly, to prevent him from gaining 6.
He gains nothing.
Yep. And now Thomas's Coffin comes down. It's funny how this, the board state can just shift so quickly here that before it seemed like you were really in command of the game, and now, just like that, is that a Spectre? The stream lag there, I can't quite see. Okay, so it is a Spectre. And
yeah, so I just said I'm glad you haven't had any dead draws for the last few turns.
Yep. But keep in mind, this is what we talked about before. Guillaume is running a lot fewer land than a lot of these normal control decks. So he just has 3 or 4 extra spells in his deck, and that in these long sequences of draw go, that can often make the difference.
That's a very good point.
It's a calculated risk. Yeah. But
I don't think I've seen any land destruction in this game, so I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, I don't believe that you've drawn any. He's had that Tundra in play since turn 1, and certainly that would be the first land to die.
Yep.
Attempting to attack a Spectre, of course. He's just going to probably coffin it.
Yep.
Could have used Maze as well, but that's probably correct, just to keep it out of play.
Yeah, that thing's so brutal. Good old hippie. Does that see any play in Vintage? Too slow, probably.
Not in Vintage yet. Way. I mean, creatures in general, if they're not 2/1 human wizards, they're probably not seeing a lot of play in Vintage. Vintage is, but Vintage is such a degenerate and terrible format, in my opinion, that it's really hard to make any honest evaluations. I think Old School is probably a better proving ground for creatures in general. We seem to have lost Guillaume for a minute. There he is.
I think that's just a sec, yeah.
But certainly Hypnotic Spectre has a really, really good place in Old School in general. All the mono black decks are running it, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of the deck as a card in a sideboard of versions of the deck as well, and all the versions of regular Old School too.
I completely just brutalized some people with Hippie using your deck and the couple sinkholes. It's
totally insane, isn't it? How good it is.
It's such a good addition. Like I can't believe people would ever pick him to Torak over it. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You can keep your Abyss in, but other than that,
it's just the card is just so it's almost unbeatable in the mirror matchup if they don't have access to them.
Especially if they're not a proactive deck, like if they're running any counter magic and you have that up.
Yeah, it's so absurd when your opponent brings in their 4 red elemental blasts and you bring in 4 Hypnotic Spectres. Who wins that match?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the fact too that they just bypass Mishra's factories. They can't be used.
Yes.
It's just they fly right over them. The person has 2 factories just sitting there anemically while they're getting beaten in the face by a Spectre. And the fact that it's totally not survivable if you get hit by it just a couple of times, and sometimes it's just out the whole game. Yeah. And the thing is that you get in that situation where your opponent has to leave Swords to Plowshares in their deck, which are nearly dead cards against you because of all the times that you don't draw Spectres and their hand is just clogged with swords rather than things that are interactive, they still lose those games also.
It's wonderful.
It's so unfair. It feels so unfair. All right, so you're tapping an island here. And what are you doing this in advance of? There's got to be something good here is coming.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna mind twist probably.
Oh, it's Nether Void.
Oh, Nether Void,
Mighty
yes.
Nether
So
Void. So
I love this. He has 5 lands out, or 5 mana producing lands, and the rock.
yeah, -3 land for both of you, but that definitely punishes him more, particularly because of his low mana deck. You haven't drawn much land destruction, but the fact that you've got the fact that he just effectively lost 3 generic mana on every single spell he's going to play the rest of this game is pretty brutal, because we know that his
Disenchant's
disenchant is gone. Exactly. He does have the recall, but man, is recall a bad deal when you have to pay 3 extra generic for it.
X X X X.
The Nether Void is so good too here because, first of all, it's going to make balance a lot worse, and it's going to make his Jalen Tome a lot worse because now he can't just throw away those lands willy nilly, and
Exactly.
he's going to have to hold on to them.
Yeah, this just really kind of slows the game down. Obviously, this was a slow game, but it makes it so almost all plays are impossible, and the icy becomes that much better tapping a land.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of turns of just quick draw go here. It's hard for you to really mount any type of offense with the Nether Void in play, but inevitability will matter. Your deck is filled with land, and the fact you haven't played any land in a while is an indicator to me that you probably just have a hand full of burn.
Yeah, I was a bit. This game, I was like, "Where's my land?" But hey, welcome to Magic.
You have an Underground Sea at least, which I see you're reluctant to play here. I think because of that Fellwar Stone.
Yeah, after the last game, I think it's. I don't know if it's completely correct, but it's decent to not play it.
Yeah, the argument's for and against, I think. But the fact that you do have him cut off double blue. You know what's remarkable to me is that you guys are now in game 3. Guillaume has not cast a single counterspell in all 3 of these games.
Exactly. I don't think he ever. Yeah, I don't know if he casts anymore.
And to remind the audience, he actually has 3 counterspells in his deck. He has Counterspell, Spell Blast, and Power Sink, and in all 3 games, we have not seen a single counterspell. Nothing has been countered.
Or land tax.
Yeah, or land tax too, which is this a discard? Okay, so he's got to be. Oh, this is just a Jalen Tome use. He's got his graveyard laid out there, so he's got to be thinking. In step, we'll see what he's contemplating throwing away. It's Wrath of God. I think that that's completely reasonable, though it does prevent him. I'd be curious to know what's in his hand, but it does prevent him from being able to deal with a passive threat, given that there's a Spectre in play already, a passive threat like the Gwendolyn, for example, or the Zira, which you never draw.
Right. She's cursed.
She is cursed. You sure are good at drawing the tomes, though. You've drawn both of the tomes quite early in the last 2 games, so you can't.
That's very true.
Can't complain about that. And Guillaume still has a lot of good things left, but that Nether Void is so oppressive.
Yeah.
He's going to pass the turn back.
Yeah, and then another good thing is that it makes his hand bigger and bigger, which makes my mind twist better and better.
Exactly.
That's really what I'm trying to do is like the original version of the deck. Let's see. Yeah, 5 mana Fellwar Stone.
5 mana Fellwar Stone. It's like a third of a Gilded Lotus.
And I'm so happy because I haven't been drawing lands, as you commented.
Yeah, well, other than the Underground Sea, which we know that you have in your hand, but you're wisely holding it back because there's no reason to play it right now, and it does give him access to a second blue. So he's still continuing to use Jalen Tome here. Well, at what point in time is his Ivory Tower going to start mattering again? I think he's got...
Well, that's what I was just saying to him. I was kind of trying to tell him to not use his Jalen Tome because he's going to never have enough... He's never going to be able to activate
his Ivory Tower if he keeps playing lands. Yeah, it's funny actually. You can kind of do these little enticements when there's nothing really else going on, and you're kind of just dealing with cards in hand. And in a positional battle, you can start making little suggestions to your opponent that might actually get in their head.
Right.
It's like, oh, you're right. Actually, okay, fine. I don't want to discard. That feels bad. It feels so bad to throw away Wrath of God. All right, you can see him contemplating what to throw away here. Obviously, he has a stacked hand right now. If he gets a second blue mana, which is inevitable, he's thrown away at least 1 island earlier. You're doing the little Mike Long perch right there.
Yeah, I came across a video of him doing that. I am bored out of my mind in this game.
Yeah, I understand. I've played my fair share of games against Mike Long with him in that position, rocking back and forth and chattering 1,000 words a minute. I have some stories that I've told on camera in the past before, but no player in all of the countless name pro players from back in the day that I played against, no player could get in my head the way that Mike Long could. He was unique in terms of that ability. It was exceptional. The guy had I mean, say what you will about him, and certainly he was ethically challenged and was guilty of plenty of things that he's accused of. But his mental game was second to none. There was nobody in all of Pro Magic back in the day that could rattle players the way that Mike Long could.
Yeah.
And I do sincerely feel that it is a travesty that he's not in the Magic Hall of Fame. I think that he deserves to be in it.
So speaking of Mike Long, so as I'm in that position, I'm obviously channeling him because I'm saying, hey man, like how long, like what's the time limit? I don't want you to go to bed too late. I know it's late for you.
Counterspell discarded.
I mean,
wow. What on earth could he possibly have in his hand to throw away Counterspell at this stage in the game? I cannot imagine. But look, Evan, your brilliant decision to not play Underground Sea just induced Guillaume to discard Counterspell.
He's never going to get a second blue, I guess.
I know. I guess not. He's not playing a ton of islands.
Well, at least I learned from my mistake last game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. Whew. I got to say, in his position playing blue-white, you would probably have to just hold me down and drag that card out of my fingers to make me discard it. Given the range of, I mean, in his position, he's got to be thinking, well, what does my opponent beat me with at this point, right? What are the cards that you can play at this stage in the game with his hand the way it is that can actually...
Well, I could just twist him out right now.
Right, exactly. But I'm saying those are the cards that he can lose to. He can lose to Demonic Hordes and Mind Twist, right? I mean, those are really like, that's how you win. And Counterspell stops both of those pretty well. He's got the Spectre solved, at least for the time being. Or if he... Or maybe counterspelling an attempt to kill Tawnos' Coffin. I get that he only has blue mana. He only has one blue, but he's got a lot of islands left and a Jalem Tome.
So here, I think I make I give a tell here, right?
Yeah. So and he just carded. Yeah, there's detonate. I saw you flash that. So I assume you're detonating the Tawnos' Coffin here.
Yes, I want my hippie.
You want the Spectre.
Because if I can have him under the soft lock of the Nether Void, and then I'm hitting him with a hippie, then it's just so devastating.
Yeah, 4 damage to the face there. His counterspell's in the graveyard. It would have turned on his Felwar Stone if you had tried to do that. But you actually didn't have to play the Underground Sea. You could have just tapped.
I was concerned about Power Sync, but then again, he has plenty of mana to do.
Plenty of mana, yeah. And actually, he can't Spell Blast it though. But you did have the Icy, so you could have tapped the second blue anyway if you hadn't in fact discarded the Counterspell. But the fact that he threw Counterspell away, and you know that he doesn't have Mana Drain in his deck, as he's not playing with it because it's a 1-point card, you could know that the Detonate was pretty much a guarantee unless he had Power Sync in hand. And he did not draw with Jalem Tome in response here. Is this a Swords of Plowshares? Yes, it is.
It's so funny to watch him tap that much mana.
Yeah, I know, 4 mana. Well, I don't know if you've ever had to deal with Gloom with your control deck, but you kind of get in these disgusting situations where you're...
Yeah, Gloom can be nasty. Double Gloom is worse
Double Gloom is so backbreaking, yeah, when you're paying just an absurd 8 mana to cast a Disenchant. It just feels so terrible.
Yeah.
But Spectre's out of the game. Guillaume doesn't have to worry about that threat either. He's continuing to draw cards with Jalem Tome. Still discarding. So now we'll actually see what he may have elected to discard Counterspell over. I'm very, very curious to know what he might have in hand here.
So I'm just so frustrated with like the time it takes to make the decision on what to discard. And I understand it's hard, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, this match has been going on for a long time already. It's almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So it's very, very easy to sort of just lose patience. Let's see what he throws away. That's Sonic Blast. Interesting choice, but makes a great deal of sense. I think in his position, I would have elected to keep Counterspell over Sonic Blast, but we don't know the rest of his hand. We don't know if the Jalem Tome just gave him Sonic Blast. I'm not able to see where it's coming from his hand.
Sure.
And again, I don't know how many cards he has in hand either. I think it's probably 3 or 4. 3 mana, 6. It's going to be a 3 mana guy. Old Man of the Sea. And I imagine you have copious burn to handle that, so it's not really a threat.
Yeah, the only thing he could take, I think, is...
It's dead, right?
The curse card and hippie.
Yeah, exactly. Just Zera and the Hypnotic Spectre. It's just not too good against you. It is an attacker at least, though, so that's something.
Pressure, yeah,
Yeah.
technically.
And forget that Old Man of the Sea actually has kind of insane stats for its time.
2-3.
I know,
yeah.
it's like Herloon Minotaur with a ridiculous ability. What were they thinking?
Arabian Nights is cool, man.
Yeah. All right, 3 mana. That is the precast. And what is this? Down comes Mind Twist. Ow.
Ooh.
All right. Well, now we get to find out what Guillaume was sandbagging. And there's a disc, balance, Jalem Tome, and recall. Holy devastating. That is so devastating. Devastating blow to his chances in this game. Losing the balance in particular, obviously the recall, incredibly important card for the long game. Plays a factory, but you've got a maze in play. The old man can't even attack here. And you've got to be breathing a sigh of relief to see those two incredibly powerful cards go away.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I'm feeling like it's all but over, but there's always a little more match left.
Yeah, there's definitely always match left. All right, so tapping 2 mana, paying 3 additional. Can only imagine what this card is. Someone's going to be looking through their library.
I think it's, the tutor.
Yes. Oh, it's Blight.
Oh, Blight.
Good old Blight.
Gosh, that feels bad. Pay 5, and then I'm gonna icy it.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I guess the icy Blight thing works. You don't even have to tap the land for mana; it just kills it. So you're going after another island there. That makes perfect sense, given the fact that he's struggled so much this game to even draw 2 blue.
Yep.
Though he does still have 2 blue thanks to your Underground Sea.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah. All right, so you're going to maze one of these things and take 2 damage. That just drops you down to 18. I guess he's still just thinking about the attack here. Okay, so that's, I guess, just the obviously you're going to want to...
I don't know, I guess I just wanted him to have less mana, I guess.
Yeah, no, you should... Were you icing something there? Yeah, I guess...
No, I mazed the... I'd already IC'd his Tundra for the Blight, and then I sent back his Old Man of the Sea.
Yeah, of course, that's correct, because if you untap the factory, then he gets an extra land, and they both deal 2 damage anyway. And the Old Man did not attack? Oh, no, the Old Man attacked and untapped. Yeah, the factory. Gotcha, yeah, the factory dealt 2, and the Old Man untapped. So you've got a big handful of spells here. Playing another land. He's going to continue to Jalem Tome, which is, I'm still sure, is making you still feel a little nervous. There's still plenty of things left he could do. He discards Spellblast. Yeah, Spellblast is... But he's got to consider, again, from Guillaume's position, he's got to be thinking about, how do I still get back into this game? Well, the way I get back into this game is I draw Argivian Archaeologist. And if I've got Argivian Archaeologist starts to deliver some of these artifacts that are dead, like the Taunus' Coffin, potentially the Disc, and the Chaos Orb. And how do I keep the Archaeologist in play? Well, I keep it in play with Spellblast. So with that in mind, I think that I'm not sure what the other cards in hand are, but in a Singleton format, you really, really have to be very considerate of every single play you make, particularly when you're playing an Answers-based deck. Totally. This looks like he's probably drawn Animate Dead here. Yeah, he's asking to look through a graveyard. In the Torak, you have a Triskelion there.
Yeah, he wants to make sure his hand is safe after I violated him.
Yeah, I'm sure he still feels violated. Having your whole hand ripped apart by Mind Twist is just one of the worst feelings in Magic.
Well, and to add insult to injury, he's been refining the quality of his hand all game.
Yeah, he's been sculpting it at the cost of discarding land, only to have it wrenched away. Yeah, and because of your Icy and the fact that he only had a single blue, there was really no way that he could have stopped. There's no way that he could have stopped the Mind Twist anyway. All right, there's Archaeologist.
Yes, I think I got a bull.
Yeah, it's so, because of the Nether Void, though, it's just so hard for him to play Archaeologist and to protect it. He may just have to gamble that you don't have a way to remove it. But given how
which
little...
is a bad gamble, given how few threats he has.
Given how little burn you've played this game, it's just so unlikely that you don't have at least some red way to deal with it, and you might, in fact, have 2. So I can't fault for Guillaume for trying to just play it right now. I mean, there is a chance you just have nothing, and if he does get to untap with the Archaeologist and play, it could swing the game back in his favor.
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure you're just thinking about how to kill it. Oh, that is extra juicy.
Yeah, so I get rid of both of them. Okay, I forgot about this play. This is nice.
Yeah, that's super nice. And you're electing not to deal extra damage, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want margin.
Yeah, I understand it. I think keeping your mana untapped is fine. And you've just played a factory there, so you've got an extra 2/2 out.
Yep.
Something to kind of interact here. I guess that was just a Quake for 3. I think it's complicated with the Nether Void in play, but you've got to pay.
Yeah. Little
seven mana for a 3 damage Earthquake. But it dealt with 2 excellent creatures in Guillaume's deck. And that is another creature, actually, that the Old Man of the Sea could potentially grab. It is the factory as well.
That's a good point, yeah. Until it turns back into a land?
Actually, I think that based on the way the templating works now, I think the Old Man may continue to hold it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, don't quote me on that, but I believe that that's how it works. As long as the creature doesn't get power above the Old Man's power, I think it'll hang on to it in perpetuity. Wow. Same as a Preacher. Yeah, that's definitely a rule that was different back in the day. And I could be wrong, and maybe the ruling in Old School Singleton is different anyway.
Yeah, it's a little tricky with kind of the mixing the old with the new. I had one guy I played against in the Derby. He got really mad at me because I pile shuffled. I pile shuffled once, then I just did a normal random shuffle and then pile shuffled again.
Yeah.
And he said I was mana weaving.
Oh God, that's so ridiculous. Yeah,
and I'm not gonna say who it was, but
yeah, I hate that rule. I hate the fact that you're only allowed to power shuffle once because. And yeah, they're trying to do it because people would go and power shuffle 3 times and it would give the illusion of doing randomization when in fact they were just reverting the deck to some other thing.
Right.
But it's not like you can't do that with 1 power shuffle. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a dumb rule. Maybe they did it in the interest of just saving time because power shuffling does take so long. And, and having people sitting there power shuffling for 10 minutes on camera when they're trying to broadcast a match. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter since all the competitive Magic has been moved into digital anyway, and all the shuffling's automatic, so it's kind of moot.
Right.
It's just us people left over playing with the actual tabletop version of this game still that are forced to have to worry about this kind of thing. All right.
So here I am complaining still about him top decking that disenchant.
Yeah, I think I was actually following your game at this point. I kind of saw the link and came in at the very tail end. Well, not the tail end, the midpoint of this game. And I remember you mentioning about how you still can't believe that he was able to top deck disenchant and steal or destroy the tome that you had freshly played.
It was so. I mean, it wasn't over, but that was a very decisive advantage that I had. And
keep in mind, the next card off of his deck was also Divine Offering, so he had your tome covered in 2 ways. So what are you thinking about right here? I see you shuffling your hand. You're probably thinking about how to get rid of the Archaeologist.
Yeah, I think I end up disintegrating for 1, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that looks like that.
I mean, it felt bad,
but this is what the red burn is for, right? That's a completely game-ending card right there. And his recall is gone, so that Archaeologist effect is gone for good. There's no getting it back. He's not playing with Time Twister. And balance,
we were discussing. I was like, hey, I want it out of the game. And he's like, I can't bring it back. And I'm like, take it out of the game. Come on.
Yeah, might as well just exile it anyway.
I don't want to deal with that thing.
He's checking his...
And I was asking about recall, and yeah, recall's gone.
I got to say, it's got to be uncomfortable being in poor Guillaume's position at this point. Just knowing that so many of your key cards in the matchup are gone, and that even if you manage to draw the Brain Geyser, it's just going to be so anemic, given how much Nether Void just makes Brain Geyser bad. You have
Geyser for 3. Yeah.
You have Disrupting Scepter in your deck, right?
No, I don't. I took it out for Gwendolyn.
Interesting. If you
I'll put it back in next season.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like this is sort of the situation that Scepter is so backbreaking in. Just when you're in these stalls, you just prevent your opponent. You wreck all of your opponent's reactive cards with the Disrupting Scepter.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to.
The sort of original idea for this deck was sort of get a Nether Void out and then have some activatable artifact under it, because you can still book for 4 even if you got a Nether Void out. It doesn't go to 7.
Yeah,
right?
No, that's
you can
true.
Activate it, or I can Scepter for 3. I just found that I kept not having that extra 3 mana, despite what you've seen in this game. But there was a lot. I would just use it 1 out of 3 turns.
Yeah, well, so many cards, of course, in a format that has no sideboarding are very, very matchup dependent. I mean, this is the entire reason why we have sideboards in the first place, because both of you guys are playing with lots of cards. I'm sure that Guillaume would have rather had a card like Dust to Dust over, say, Ivory Tower, for example, in this matchup. So if you were to play Singleton, 7-point Singleton with sideboard cards, it would be a very different game. And of course, other points were raised in some of the other commentary I watched that I happen to agree with, and that's the problem is that because you're dealing with, maybe if you were to make the sideboard smaller, like maybe only 7 cards or something.
Sure.
But if you give people 15 card sideboards, what's going to happen is that everybody's sideboard
it's
is
all
just
tsunamis.
It's exactly. It's just a bunch of really obnoxious color hosers, Death Grip and Life Force and all the blasts and Tsunami and Volcanic Eruption. It's just needlessly.
They're too good.
Gloom and just endless things that just make the game suck.
Yeah. Okay, so I cast a Demonic Tutor here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't talk about it. Yeah, so what did you get?
Demonic Hordes.
You got the Hordes, all right. Of course, it's your favorite card.
Counter spells are gone. Swords is gone. I don't care about control magic because he can't pay upkeep and loses his lands anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Demonic Hordes finally gets to come to the party. I'm sorry that I skipped over the Demonic Tutor right there. I was too busy blubbering, but yes.
But what's funny is I have 6 mana on tap, but I need 9 to cast it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you'd happily probably pay 15 mana for the Demonic Hordes effect if you had it.
It's so decisive at this point. He only has 7 land, 8. Let's see, 2, 4, 6 mana. 8 mana producing lands and Fellwar Stone.
Yeah, and due to the fact that Guillaume is not running any finishing creatures really to actually win the game, that he's just trying to play this sort of grind you down inevitability game plan and doesn't have creatures.
I understand how he wins exactly.
Well, I think he wins with
like a Mishram.
Well, those 2 artifact creatures really. I think he just gets really, really far ahead and gets something like Taunus's Coffin Triskelion or Taunus's Coffin Tetravis. But the problem is those creatures there's only 2 of them, and they're both relatively frail for 6 casting cost things. And if they go away, he's just in a really, really tough spot, and he has to win via card advantage. And it's just so hard to enact the card advantage game plan under a Nether Void when your opponent has tons of artifact kill and hand destruction. It's a very, very bad matchup for his deck, I think. And now you've got a Guardian Beast in play as well. You can't quite start attacking with it, but Demonic Hordes, oh man. Yeah.
He needs to attack when you have Demonic Hordes.
Yeah. How much are you crossing your fingers right now that Guillaume does not have Power Sink in his hand?
Yeah, pretty hard.
Yeah, because you're going to have to pay. You've got another land.
Blue.
But he's got the Fellwar Stone still, so.
Oh, I think I'm holding some lands and I wanted to get a little more out.
Interesting. So we'll see.
Play around the Power Sink, I think.
All right, so you tap an island. Okay, so you are waiting. You're going to be patient. Very interesting.
I mean, I was kind of thinking, I kind of remember at this point, he doesn't have any way to take it out of my hand, so.
Yeah, and we know that his Swords to Plowshares is gone as well. He's finally drawn another blue mana source. And it looks like it's an Underground Sea, and you've got a boatload of mana. I'm counting, it looks like 13 at this point.
3, 6, 7. Yeah, 13. Wow.
13 mana. So power sinking you pay 9, you've got 4 remaining. His power sink is going to cost, oh, he's casting something here.
That's right, he taps out, yeah.
Control magic on Guardian Beast, which I'm sure from Guillaume's perspective feels like a great play right now. It gives him another attacker, and it also means that his Jalen Tome won't be harmed, at least for the foreseeable future. But for you, from your perspective, you're thinking, oh man.
So I'm asking about Wrath of God in his graveyard. And
yeah, it's gone as well. Coast is clear.
Yep. So it's just.
Yeah, is this thing just a stone cold nuts at this point? There's no beating it, right?
I mean, I Demonic Tutored for it. It's perfect.
Yeah, it is like literally the best card you could possibly draw. You could possibly even have, and you had to tutor for it. So tapping some mana. You've gotten out of your Mike Long position, which means you're feeling comfortable with the game now.
Yeah, I'm no longer playing the mental games.
Yep, just slamming 5/5 World Destroyers. Demonic Hordes comes down, and Guillaume with no cards in hand, with Plowshares, Wrath of God,
Disc is in the graveyard.
Sonic Blast, Disc, everything, basically all of his outs already gone, and of course, and Balance and Recall. It's got to feel pretty bad. Of course, the hordes have a lot of land to chew through. And he's got a lot of lands left in his deck, so it may be just eating lands for quite some time. But again, inevitability is on your side.
Yeah.
What is he at? He's at 13?
Yeah, I don't even care about his life total. I'm just, like you said, I'm playing the inevitability game.
Yeah, you've gone back to the Mike Long perch. I'm just looking, because you've seen his deck list in advance of this. I'm sure you've done your homework and you've seen his deck list in advance of the match. I'm wondering about whether it makes sense to chew through his lands or just kill off the Maze of Ith and start smashing him in the face. Well, kill the factory and then just start hitting him with your factory and your demonic hordes rather than
in this situation, I opt for the hard lock.
Okay.
It's not the quickest route to victory, and I've gotten this sort of Nether Void demonic hordes combo off a few times this season. And people are like, well, why don't you just kill my Maze of Ith and attack? And it's like, well, because I can do that later. That's my last land I killed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But there is risk if they can kill it,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you really kind of have to just determine what are his. The Nether Void does certainly make the Horde's plan a lot more attractive, because if you're able to drop him down below, well, his remaining things, I think he discarded. Have we seen his Triskelion and his Tetrabus yet? I mean, those things cost 9 mana under the Nether Void. So if you're able to keep him under 9, it completely prevents him from really interacting with a 5/5 in any way now that those other cards are gone.
Exactly.
Tapping a bunch of mana here for a vampire.
Fissure? Oh no, Singer Vampire.
Yeah, Singer Vampire. That
could end the game.
Yeah, that can end the game quite quickly. You've got the Icy to deal with the Maze of Ith, and the Hordes can just eat the Island of Whack Whack, and you can start just pounding him for 4 every turn.
So I killed his Underground Sea.
Okay.
And he books here, or paperbacks. Yeah, just imagine if that was a Jalem Tome this game. It'd be a totally different, instead of a paperback, it'd be a totally different game.
Oh, you mean a JM Day Tome? Yeah.
Or JM Day Tome, excuse me.
Totally. Night and day difference this late in the game. Yeah, all those uncomfortable discards that he had to do would have been extra cards in his hand. He would have been able to counterspell your Mind Twist almost certainly. And he'd have a hand with Recall and a bunch of gas. So getting back to what we were saying about how does Guillaume's deck win in the long game? Well, he just has Jam Day Tome instead of Jalem Tome, and he has a massive hand that he's able to effectively trade for the graveyard when his opponent isn't really doing much, because he could just plowshare away the Hordes and take control of Singer Vampire, and you'd be all but done.
Yep.
What a difference a tome makes. So he's still trying to figure out what to do, figuring out what to do. You're tapping his Felwar Stone during upkeep, it looks like.
Yeah, that's what I should have been doing the whole time over an island, because it gets black and blue.
Yeah.
And so that was technically about 100 mistakes over the last 100 turns.
Yeah, well, I'd say that they're small in the sense that we know why he has black in his deck. Did you have his whole deck list available?
Oh, yeah, I wrote it out by hand.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were referencing it, because he's got only 2 black cards. He's got the Guardian Beast and he has Animate Dead. He's already used Animate Dead. Guardian Beast, he literally has one in play, courtesy of you. So the black mana isn't really particularly threatening. It's not going to change the game. And,
but technically, I should limit him more.
Yeah, honestly, from your perspective, I think what I would do here, 100% is I would not be messing around with his mana producers, and I would just go, I'm going to kill your Island of Whack Whack, I'm going to tap your Maze of Ith, and I'm going to beat your face in 2 turns. And you're never going to draw your way out of this, because there's a Nether Void in play, and all your white removal, like the white removal cards that matter, are all gone.
Yeah, totally.
There's no wrath. I mean, as fun as it is to rip your opponent's lands to pieces underneath a Nether Void.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's just, I don't want to give him, I don't know, maybe I probably checked, I hope I checked the deck list and just triple checked he didn't have any way to kill it. Yeah, I don't mind waiting, but sometimes that can get you into trouble.
Yeah, the thing is again, you have no time limit, right? So running out of time isn't a big deal anyway. But I'm always sort of trying to make the decision about what's the most sort of efficient way to close this game out. And you have this huge advantage of the fact you are playing a singleton format, and so you just know that he literally does not have any answers left. There's nothing left. If those 2 if the island of
his island.
yeah, and it's so brutal at this point anyway. And
Yeah.
obviously inevitability is taking control here. But if you kill off Island of Whack Whack and Maze of Ith, there's just no way he can stop the incoming damage. He's just dead in 2 turns.
So one thing to notice is that his deck is tiny compared to mine.
Yeah, I can see, what is it, about 10 cards left maybe?
Yeah, something like
10,
that.
10, 12 cards. He's probably just going to wind up getting decked before the Hordes even kill all of his land, particularly if he is using Jalen's Tome. Somewhere in there is Brain Geyser too, and by cutting off his blue mana, you don't even have to worry about that card. I mean, he's playing this out, but we kind of know where things are headed. The Nether Void is making everything cost so much mana. He can just sort of anemically scepter you for probably a land. Yeah, Tropical Island goes away. He's got his strip mine there. Passing it back. Your finger.
Feels so good.
Yeah, of course.
It's so good.
I think maybe my suspicion is that maybe what was going through your head here is that you kind of were tilted by all the things that happened earlier.
I was quite tilted.
And you kind of just wanted to, I don't know, maybe just
get a little
make him squirm a little bit, which we've all been guilty of from time to time.
Like me. Yeah. I could be a bit of a bully in the wrong situation.
And to Guillaume's great credit, he is sitting here and gamely taking it all, having all of his lands
taking
killed.
it like a man, unlike me.
Yeah, killed underneath the Nether Void. So and he throws away a Plains. Yeah, there's just, I mean, really, what can he draw? I don't really think of any. I don't think there are even any outs left in his deck that he can even draw to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
And eventually, he won't have any mana left, or he'll only have 3 left, and then the Island of Whack Whack and Maze of Ith will go away, and that will be the end.
Yep.
The merciful end. Fellerstone tap during upkeep. No blue mana to speak of. Guillaume just studying his hand, thinking, wish I had some blue mana.
That's my game plan. No blue mana for you. Yeah, so if I had any sort of book up, paperback or James Day tome, this game would have ended so much quicker. But also vice versa, if he had a James Day tome.
Yeah, I mean, but he did have the Jalen tome in play, and the Jalen tome was unable to deliver enough answers, and actually was unable to get him into the blue mana that he needed to stop the Mind Twist, which effectively really sealed his game, I think.
Yeah.
Can just scepter you.
Yeah, and he sceptered away at Volcanic. I mean, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, I'm not going to change much. All he can do is pass back. He can't cast anything. Hordes untap. The Vampire's just content to just sit by the sidelines, waiting for his turn.
Yes.
Sharpening his fangs.
His time will come.
Yes.
And I don't even have to hold the Hordes back to block, right? I can just sort of kill it and...
Yeah, you can just do it during main step, clipping more of his mana off. He's now down to just 2 mana available to cast spells. And Guillaume's deck, unfortunately, does not function with just 2 land in play.
Yeah, that's kind of a weakness of having a land tax type plan for him.
Yeah.
Even if it's good against me specifically.
Yeah. How different also would this game have been if he had that tax earlier? All right, down comes Orb.
Yep.
And whoa.
I'm going after a land.
Yeah, it looks like you may have missed there.
Yeah. I've actually been coached on it ahead of this Derby game.
Have you? Yeah, I was going to say I would be happy to provide some advice, but my own Chaos Orb technique is actually slightly unorthodox. I think that I'm training my 11-year-old son to flip Chaos Orb properly right now, and the technique that I'm teaching him is actually quite different from the technique that I use. I think the best technique by far is the one-handed technique of tilting the card at about maybe a 35 to 40 degree angle with one hand and just basically releasing it straight up by just flicking your fingers straight up. And so you hold the card almost horizontal to the board, but tilted up slightly, and then just lift the other edge and just let gravity effectively cause it to turn.
Yeah, that's I'm doing something very similar.
And it drops straight down and it'll almost never miss.
Yeah, I'm doing that, except I hold it a little bit to the left of the card because it kind of comes back.
It drifts downward slightly, exactly. All right, there's land tax just in time.
I'm so lucky to have just dodged this bullet.
Yeah, the whole game. It may be the last
This is
card.
a silver bullet, right?
Yeah, and the question is does Guillaume even have any land left in his deck?
He does. He does. Spoiler alert.
Maybe just a few lands left there. We've got a little chat thing popping up for a second.
So Tom's taking off. I have to go see.
Oh, he says, yeah, he's been patiently waiting for 2 hours. But Demonic Hordes.
Tomas, of course, he's the creator.
Oh, that's
organizer, creator of this format.
Yeah,
so.
what a guy! He's just
he's the man.
Such
he's
an awesome
the man.
dude. Yeah, he's such a big guy.
Much love to him.
All right, are we gonna see at least a vampire attack sometime soon? It's got to happen. Nope. There's got to be at least one vampire attack before this.
No, now he can build up his land. So
kind of. There's another one in play.
Well, I kind of have him in a vice.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way out of this, really. Realistically, we are just sort of going through the motions. He does find 2 more islands. Any more land in there? Yeah, 3 islands still. Not too surprising, actually, given how few islands he drew earlier on in the match.
Very true.
But that's just getting him a little bit thinner and a little closer to being decked.
Yep. It's not going to be long now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so I'm asking him, I'm like, hey, man, is there any way out of this? Like, you can look through your deck right now. Is there any way out?
Yeah, I think we already know. I mean, really, what has he not drawn? I know that Brain Geyser is one of the cards. The Time Elemental has been dead for a while. Oh, the Witch Hunter, I think, is still in the deck somewhere. But there's no way that Witch Hunter is going to be able to impact this board in any meaningful way, particularly with your.
I mean, he can't even cast it. He needs 7.
Yeah, and he does. Yeah, he's just stuck underneath the Nether Void and the Hordes. So
he has maximum 5 available because I tap his.
Because of the icy, exactly. Power. So for 2 mana and with Disenchant gone, there's literally nothing. Oh, I guess you can start gaining life off Ivory Tower, but decking now seems inevitable, given that his deck looks like it has about 6 or 7 cards remaining.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes this happens in these singleton decks. Sometimes you just simply run out of threats. You can have all the answers, but if you have no way to really close the game out that doesn't require an interlocking set of other cards in your deck and those cards get destroyed, you can just find yourself with no way to actually win the game.
Yeah, it's like many sports or anything. You can't just only play defense. You have to offense can be a form of defense.
Absolutely, offense can win games quite well. So you're discarding a swamp there to the Disrupting Scepter, and with -1 mana in play, all Guillaume can do is just pass the turn back.
I haven't flashed as many cards this.
No, you've been keeping your hand. You've been disciplined and keep your hand below the table a little bit and just tilt it back. Gobble up that island. Reducing him down to just 2 mana again. Down comes the swamp. He's going to just Jail Tome anyway, since there's no reason not to do it. I think this is the point where you discard Brain Geyser.
Yeah, couldn't cast it if you wanted to.
Could not cast it if you wanted to, for sure.
I'm kind of confused. I'm like, what are we deciding here? Like, but
yeah, well, I think that from Guillaume's perspective, in his defense, I think that, and this is something that I always try to adhere to as well, is that basically, sure, the situation is effectively, okay, you're shattering the Felwar Stone as well. The situation is effectively hopeless, but that doesn't mean that it's kind of like when you're under time pressure in a game when you're running out of time.
Sure.
And you kind of just consider, like, how would I play if time weren't a factor and every decision still mattered? And I think that just, you can learn something and take something away from every game you play, even games that you lose. And in a situation like this, which might feel hopeless, you're right, because of the Nether Void, but maybe this sort of situation happens again when his deck is slightly different and Nether Void isn't in play. And now he actually, he's learned something from the decisions. I think he'll probably, maybe his takeaway from this game will be that he discarded that counterspell prematurely and then lost the game to Mind Twist. And that's something that he can consider, in a future game that may make him a better player overall. So I think that even though it may make sense, like obviously there's nothing.
And it's also very honorable to just
totally. And he's been a great sport here. I think that, I think a lot of players.
Than I have been.
Yeah, a lot of players. I'm glad that you're able to admit that. But a lot of players would have just rage quit or given up in frustration here a long time ago. And the fact that he's sort of gamely soldiering on here, and just to learn what's going to happen. And another thing also to consider, and this is something that's kind of endemic to the old school format in general, is that everybody gets something different from the game. And Guillaume may not have played against a lot of these cards, and it may be cool for him to not only draw and see the cards in his own deck, but also to see
demonic hordes,
to see what's in your deck too. Exactly. It's you never really know what the other person is getting out of the experience.
Totally fair.
And for you, and I get the impression that you're quite a bit more spiky than the average player who plays old school, and certainly the sort of casual 7-point old school singleton format. And so your assessment of what the game is about is different from his.
Yes, fair.
And but unfortunately, no matter how much he enjoys the cards and playing the cards, he is now down to -1 mana. While your vampire watches from the sidelines.
Well, it's a spirit link to vampire.
Yeah, it's spirit link now, exactly.
So that's why I wasn't attacking. I was expecting this.
Exactly. It's just a few cards
left.
left.
He got one swamp in his deck. He finally drew it.
Scepter.
And
you got a bolt there. Bolt to the face. You got to pay 3 extra mana for that. Oh, it's countered.
Oh, no, I didn't.
You had plenty of mana left over. I think so. I think you're fine. I think you're fine. Gobble up another planes. Poor Guillaume.
Yeah. I am kind of a mean player. I'll give you that.
He did not play anything, though, even though he's got a scepter out. I guess there's probably no reason to. Icy taps down. Pretty soon you're not going to be able to use that Felwar Stone as soon as that swamp's dead.
Yeah, right? I should consider that carefully.
Oh, he's got an island again, though. Scepter. Discard. Terror. Yeah, no targets. 2 cards left in his library, it looks like. Chomp. There goes the island.
You can't see the giant smile on my face.
Yeah, it's off the camera, but draws another card. He shows Power Sink, Brain Geyser, Icy Manipulator, just jammed a tome as the last card in his deck, and a Triskelion and Touch of it. So he did it. So he did have the 2 6-drops left. So those were potential outs, at least to sort of give him some semblance of being in the game. When we were talking about whether or not it was correct to kill the mana-producing lands versus killing the things that prevent creatures from attacking. But either way, inevitability was completely on your side, and I think that once the demonic hordes really came down, the range of things that he could draw to actually affect the outcome were next to 0. I'm just going to pause my screen here. All right, and so there we go. That is the end of the match. That was the semifinal match between Evan and Guillaume. And actually, no, I take that back. That was the quarterfinal match between Evan and Guillaume. I hope I didn't say otherwise. Yeah, you guys are playing in the quarterfinals, right? Because you have your semifinal.
Yeah, it
coming
was
up.
top 8.
Yeah, so we won't spoil any of the results in case that was recorded for later on of your semifinal game. And I think I may actually have a recording of that. I'm not sure. I need to check. Or wait, did I actually do the recording with? No, I did. I did the video. Yeah, I did the video with Rich. So we've actually got that out there in the ether. I may be doing my own commentary for that or some of the other games later on if I can find time. But Evan, this was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me to do the commentary. Congratulations on winning your quarterfinal in such decisive fashion.
Thank you. Well, it went to 3 games. I mean, it was close. It wasn't. But that last game was brutal.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. It was really, really cool to see the entirety of both of your decks in action, and a really nice demonstration of all the cool diversity that exists in 7-point Old School Singleton. One of the coolest formats that exists, and one I'm looking forward to watching develop as we move forward into the future.
I as well.
All right, I will see you later. Thanks for watching, guys, and tune in soon for more 7-point Old School